Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda. The law of karma in Hindu thought. The doctrine of transmigration. The Atman going from one body to the next. The doctrine of transmigration is only an extension of the law of karma. The word karma means not only action, physical and mental, but also reaction. Karma means karma phala also, but also reaction. Reaction of the mind to external stimuli. The forces generated by actions, good or bad, produce good or bad consequences, phala, which affect the doer. That is, one who performs actions in an egocentric way with a view to getting results. Thus, the law of karma is actually the law of causation, cause and effect. It is the great moral law which, in its individual and collective aspects, guides the destinies of individuals and society. Every action produces two kinds of results. One is the cosmic effect, which determines our future experiences, happiness or misery. The second effect of karma is individual. Every action leaves behind an impression in the mind called sanskara. Thousands of such sanskaras are stored up in our mind, which get activated again later on as tendencies or vasanas. And these subtle impressions determine the course of our future births. This is not as mysterious as we think. If we analyze our own minds, we find that many of our present thoughts had their origin in our childhood. Certain ideas and experiences received in childhood leave deep marks in our minds. As we grow, as the films of our minds are developed, we are surprised to find what an amount of pictures and ideas we have in our minds. It is like the playing back of a tape record. Very often we forget the source of some of our tendencies, but through introspection we can trace them to our early childhood and even to our previous births. Some of our dreams, when analyzed, give us a wealth of details about our past. Often they point to experiences of past lives. The law of karma has got two aspects, the binding one and the freeing one. Karma, when done with egotism and attachment, I am doing, I have done, egotism and attachment binds the soul more and more. Repeated sense enjoyments make previous impressions stronger and drag the person down to the plane of birth and death. But when karma is done with detachment, as a service to the Lord, or purely for the welfare of others, it leads to the liberation of the soul. Detachment of the self can be practiced either through constant self analysis and alertness, jnana marga, or by constant self surrender to the divine, jnana bhakti mishrita. When this is done, so detachment of the self, if there is action involved, so karma also. When this is done, no new impressions are created, and the old ones do not become stronger. Gradually, all the previous impressions of the mind lose their sway over us. This is called the purification of the mind. So, through jnana or bhakti or karma, mind can be purified. This is achieved through karma. Thus, karma in itself is not bad. It is the way we do it that determines whether it binds us or not. All schools of philosophy in India, whether they are theistic or non theistic, accept the law of karma. But the real question is, has the Supreme Being or God got any connection with the working of this law? Is there a divine will behind its operation? A story is told of the great French astronomer and mathematician Laplace, who laid the foundation of the theory of spherical harmonics. When he presented his famous book, The Celestial Mechanism, to Napoleon, the emperor asked him about the place of God in his system. The astronomer quietly replied, "Sir, I have done without that hypothesis. Sir, I have done without that hypothesis of God." Well, to many scientists, God is just a hypothesis which one can dispense with. Agnosticism or atheism, ignoring or denying the existence of God, has become somewhat fashionable nowadays, with a class of superficial thinkers in various fields like science, economics, politics, etc. This theory is often flaunted as modern, and many youngsters in India are taking to it more and more. Now, when we try to understand the minds of such people, we find that they are not mature or deep. They lack the earnestness or capacity to go deep down into their own minds, or even to think deeply about any subject. In fact, it is not an easy thing to think deeply. This requires a disciplined mind. Most of the so called modern materialists want only to repeat the ideas of some others and follow them blindly. I am reminded of a story. A teacher was teaching arithmetic to small children. She set a problem for them to solve. "I have 12 sheep," she said. "Six of them jumped the fence and ran away. How many would be left?" Most of the boys answered, "Six." But a farmer's boy quietly said, "None would be left." When the teacher questioned him about it, the boy said, "Ma'am, you may know arithmetic, but I know the ways of the sheep." Here is a lesson for us. We should not follow others blindly like sheep. As a scientist put it, for most people, the spinal cord is enough. The brain is something redundant. That means most people lead instinctive, impulsive lives. Very few people really think and consciously guide their own lives. There is nothing modern about materialism. In ancient India, we had a school of thinkers called the Charvakas. They denied the existence of God, the soul, and immortality, and held that purpose of life was gross sense enjoyment. They never seem to have had much influence on the people, but have the old Charvakas disappeared? They are hiding in many of us who profess religion but in actual life follow the materialistic conception of life. As distinct from these superficial materialistic thinkers, we had in ancient India deep, serious philosophical minds who nevertheless denied the existence of God, at least the God we generally speak about, but they all admitted the working of the law of karma. So, um, Nastika uh, school of thought like Buddhism, Jainism, who denied the existence of God, Anatmavad. Hmm. They admitted the working of the law of karma, nevertheless, and with the possible exception of the Buddhists, believed in the reality and immortality of the soul. Buddhists even denied the reality or existence and its immortality, as I was saying, anatmavad. The words astika and nastika refer not to theists and atheists, but to the orthodox and the unorthodox, respectively. Astikavad means those who believe in the astitva of Atma and the validity of Vedas. So the word is defined like that in our Shastras. Now the connotation has changed, and many say astic or nastic, and they refer it to theists and atheists. But the original word had a different meaning. Astikas are those who believe in the supreme authority of the Vedas, and Nastikas are those who do not. Simple enough. Buddhists and the Jains belong to the Nastikas. Among the Astikas, the Sankhyas and some of the Mimamsakas do not accept the existence of God. So, Astikas, among the Astikas, two schools of thought, Sankhya and Mimamsaka, they believe in the Vedas, but they don't believe in the existence of God. The souls, according to them, are bound by the law of karma, whose operation is inexorable. So, Astika, simple, they believe in Vedas. The Buddhists, on the other hand, denied the existence of the soul itself. At the same time, accepting the law of karma, this landed many of them in a curious position. Human personalities is by them compared to a chariot. The chariot consists of an aggregate of parts like the wheels, etc., and apart from these, the chariot has no independent existence. In the same way, human body is an aggregate of many elements which nevertheless continues to be born according to the law of karma. There is the story of an old woodcutter who was proud of his shining axe. When anybody praised the axe, the old man would beam with joy and say, "Come, my boy, I've been using it ever since I was 20 and still see how fine it looks. Only the blade has been changed 6 times and the handle 8 times." The old man was under the impression that he was still using the same axe. The Buddhists say that the continuity of the self through a series of rebirths is a similar illusion. Having lived several years in the West, I am able to understand the religious climate better. India is the land of Vedanta, which believes in the existence of a divine power guiding the destinies of all beings. Vedanta doesn't believe that an unconscious law could work out the destinies of conscious living beings. There must be a conscious being, an intelligent power who is the ultimate controller and guide of the universe. So, in the Sutras, we find an aphorism: God is the ultimate cause because the effort, karma, of man does not always bear fruit. Gautama, Nyaya Sutras. Ishvara Karanam Purusha Karmafalya Darshanat. So, God is the cause because man's effort does not always bear same fruit. So, God is the ultimate cause. Okay. Of all the various systems of philosophy in India, Vedanta alone has given paramount importance to God and has triumphed and flourished. All those schools which denied the existence of God have either disappeared from its soil or have merged in the mainstream of Vedanta. We hear about gigantic machines and most intricate computers and are very much impressed by their efficient work. But we forget that there are intelligent beings who have discovered these and are operating them. In the same way, though this infinite and mysterious universe seems to be going all by itself, it is guided by a cosmic being who is of the nature of supreme intelligence and is immanent in all beings. You sow a seed in the ground and pour some water. The seed germinates and grows. Are we to believe that there is a personal deity, Narayana or Shiva, sitting somewhere out there in the Vaikuntha or Kailasha directing the growth of seed? There is divinity hidden in all beings. It is this immanent divine principle that controls all the life movements. Some of the Western philosophers too speak of an immanent cosmic will. The law of karma is under the guidance of the divine will, but God Himself is beyond its control. He is ever free and ever pure and is of the nature of supreme consciousness and bliss. Vedanta further believes that man need not always go on performing actions. Actions are to be performed only as long as the soul is not awakened to the inner reality. When the soul realizes its real nature to be the same as the divine, it too goes beyond the operation of the law of karma. It becomes free. This final freedom from the cycle of births and deaths is the goal of life, according to Vedanta. In the Mundaka Upanishad, we find a beautiful imagery illustrating this point. There are two birds. Mundaka Upanishad, two birds of beautiful plumage dwelling on the same tree. One bird eats the fruits of the tree, some bitter, some sweet, while the other, sitting at the top of the tree, simply looks on, being perfectly unattached. After some time, the lower bird looks up, realizes its oneness with the upper bird, and stopping eating, also attains supreme peace. The lower bird stands for the jiva, the individual soul which is bound by karma and enjoys and suffers repeatedly. But when it realizes its oneness with the supreme spirit, represented by the upper bird, it becomes freed from all attachments and limitations and gets established in its own glory. Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.1 and 2. It is not necessary to remain bound by the law of karma and be ground by its wheel. There is a way to free oneself from its painful cogs. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches Arjuna the direct path to free himself from the bondage of karma. Give up all your dharma and adharma and surrender yourself to me unconditionally. So, only one thought is coming: giving up all dharma, adharma. Then, here, when the soul realizes its real nature, so, and then, um, what thought is coming is that when the I, the ego, which is attached to this body and mind, the false ego or the unripe ego, ripens, then we become purer and the process of detachment begins, And then once we as we proceed, then it becomes easier to give up dharma and adharma and go beyond, surrender yourself and go beyond. Give up all your dharma and adharma and surrender yourself to me unconditionally. Then, when we go beyond, we become free. And we see that I, the Krishna, will save you from all bondage. Do not grieve. Here it is important. I will save you from all bondage. Advaita Vedanta Sthapakacharya Adi Shankara, in its introduction to Bhagavad Gita, clearly mentions that we can do vichara through viveka, nitya nitya vastu viveka, but it is only the will of the Lord, the grace of the Lord, which will help us transcend the final threshold. So we become purer and purer through our actions. We slowly give up the attachment to dharma and adharma, and surrender becomes natural. But final liberation from all bondage, He, the Krishna, the Supreme Being, or the Lord, gives. Do not grieve, do not be afraid, do not lose faith. This is the divine promise to mankind. All the great incarnations have given such a promise to mankind. The difficulty is to have faith in it and surrender oneself wholeheartedly to the divine.